Alright, what's up guys? Today I've got this Raptor style grill I'm going to be installing on the truck, and hopefully you guys can learn something from it. As you can see, mine already says forward. A lot of these will say it'll be D-O-O-D or D-O-D-O, and then you'd have to switch out the F and the R. It already says forward. So you can see the back side. So I've seen others where these bolts were not already in there and they were sliding all over the place, but you can see on mine, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So as you can see on mine, these bolts are already in. It has this little retainer so it don't slide out. So it also comes with this hardware kit. Let's see what's all in here. So we got a bag of screws and washers. We have the wiring harness, if you want to say, and then these mounting brackets. You get two of these. So as you can see inside the hood, we're going to be removing this bracket onto there. We're going to need to take out all of these screws, or all of these bolts rather, out of that part of the hood, as well as this portion of the bracket. I must have forgot to record when I removed these bolts out of the brackets, but as you can see, you got 2 bolts to remove on either side, and then you got about 5 or 6 bolts along the top. The reason why I'm having to cut my bolts off because 2 or 3 of them had just broke loose and was just free spinning, so I wasn't able to back the nut off the bolt, so I just had to cut them off. So inside the kit, you get a bunch of screws, you get small washers, and then you also got the big washers. The big washers are going to be for these, you know. Small washers is for the small screws that's going to go into here. Now I ended up needing to use some different screws because the screws that came with this was basically inadequate. Whenever I'd slam my hood shut, they would just fall out, like 1 at a time or 2 at a time. They basically all fell out. So I ended up using some slightly thicker and longer screws. And I'll show you that in the video a little bit later. And I'm not going in all the way tight because I may need to be some adjusting to take place. After checking the fitment and making sure everything looks good, I went back to tighten all the bolts down. And the first thing I want to do is get all this routed away from the hood latch. So let's see if I can run this up around here some kind of way. Okay, so I got this routed real nicely across the top. I've got it under this little rubber piece. Alright, so just kind of wrapped around here. Let me try to zoom in. I apologize for the way the camera looks. It's so bright in the background and it makes the foreground relatively dim. I have to change the camera settings so this will be bright, but unfortunately makes the background extremely bright. But anyway, as you can see, I've got the I got my zip tie kind of going around this deal here. So I'm just gonna kind of use this to even put the wire up under this little holding spot here and zip tie to it. To get these to curl a little bit, sometimes I wrap them around my finger real tight and just try to get it to spiral real nicely. And just tighten on it. So now you see it's a curl in it. I'm gonna stick this in here. As you can see, it comes right out. So only needed 2, but I ran 3. I put 3 together. So I'm gonna just put this behind this. Pull this nice and tight. All right, so now that we're here, I'm actually out of wire, but I need to get down into this headlight. So I'm gonna solder some more wire onto here. All right, guys, we're gonna see if we can lengthen this wire by wiring this, soldering this to this. So we're just doing this here. So I'm gonna add some shrink wrap. So I'm gonna take my 2 wires and just kind of frayed them a bit. Then I just kind of smush them together and then do them like this, just twist them up. Now I got a third hand here. Just gonna hold this in here like this. And let me get my solder. I got this little little butane soldering iron. Now it's not very good, to be honest, but since you don't have to plug it in for a quick job like this, it makes it, yeah, you can see. So it starts getting hot in there, then that heats the tip up. Like I said, it's not the greatest, but it'll work for something just really simple like this. Gonna add a little bit of flux. And since this doesn't get super hot, using flux really helps. And sometimes I'll move the heat shrink up too quick and it's still too hot and it starts to shrink and I can't slide it down, but I think we're good now. Slide it on down. Then I just use a lighter to shrink this on. That's a nice strong connection there, both wires. So now I have the wire ready to go and ready to splice into the headlight wire. I need to get my headlight out. All right, this has like a Phillips head on it, but it's not a normal screw, so I'm going to use this pry tool on it. Put a link in the description to a kit that this came with. It was quite cost effective. So this is the kind of deal that's in it. So it is actually threaded on the interior, but the exterior is this part that kind of flares out. So you kind of do need something like this in order to yank that out of there. Or you could probably use a screwdriver, and it might mess up, but hey, I'm sure you can figure something out. All right, got that pulled back. Change my screwdriver to this. I believe it was 10 millimeters. Yep, so 10 millimeters. I'm gonna take this bolt out here. Then you got a bolt here and here. More 10 millimeters. Got one down here. So now pull up on this tab and the light should come free. Oh shit. Alright, there we go. Alright, so here's the back of the light assembly. So this one here, can you see this? Alright, so this one here is this amber light that's in your light. This is your main headlight, and then what we need is this little one here. This lights up this amber section there. So we're gonna do a quarter turn, and then it lets you pull it out. Alright, so I'm gonna cut back some of this electrical tape so I can reveal a little bit more wire here. Here's this little tester. I got this one from Harbor Freight. If I remember, I'll try to put a link in the description to like Amazon to get something similar. It's fairly cheap. Some of these just have one clamp, and you clamp a ground, and if you touch a 12 volt positive, it'll light up. Or if you put it in 12 volt positive and you touch a ground, it'll light up green. This one is the type that you put on your positive and your negative battery terminal, or just ground it somewhere, and then whatever you touch, whether it's a ground, it'll light up green. If it's red, it'll light up. I mean, if it's positive, it'll light up red. So I'm gonna go ahead and clamp these to my battery terminals right now. So as you can see, this is now on, and I want to figure out which one is ground and which one is positive. Now, the black is probably ground, but I don't want to just take a chance and give this power and then end up sorting something out. All right. You see that, guys? It's lit up green. So this is my ground. You see that? It lit up red. These are called tap splicers. So you put this around the cable, and then you put the cable in that you want, and then you splice it by smashing this down. The thing, I don't like these. I'll tell you why. It seems that on new wire like this, and it's pretty small gauge, it doesn't have any problem with cutting through the shielding and actually getting to it. But on wire like this, it's old and it's thick. A lot of times it just doesn't get it good. It doesn't actually break the shielding. Or if it does, maybe it'll be working right now, and then you go for a drive and then it not work. So I don't like these. I'll show you what else I got that I do not like, just so you'll know what's out there. So these are called T-taps. It's very similar. So you put the wire, like I would put this through here, and then I would crush it, and that would hopefully splice on by doing that. And then I'm supposed to have a red one, but once this is on like this, I would crimp this onto my wire, and then I would put it on there. And this little part would go in there, and you'd get your connection. And it's kind of the same thing, guys. It's just hard to clamp on to older, thick, hard wire like that. So I'm going to show you what I like to do. So you got to have this kind of stripper. I mean, not necessarily this brand, but I'll leave a link. This was a cost-effective one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in here. Let's do the ground first. So I'm just gonna, all right, see that right there? All right, so I just exposed a little bit of that wire. So I'm just gonna kind of separate the wires here. Ideally, I'd want to strip out a little bit more than this, but this will work. All right, so I got that separated. So I'm gonna go in here with my black wire. I'm gonna put it threading a needle. I put it through, and now I'm wrapping it around. This is going to be a good, strong connection right here. Alright, so we're going to solder this on here. See if it lets me do it the right way. What you really want to do is heat up the wire, and then the solder will kind of just suck on to it where it needs to go. Alright, there we go. Alright guys, so I've got the wire, both parts all soldered in. I got them individually taped, and then I taped the whole thing together, and then I took the wire and zip tied it to the factory harness here, or the factory piece. I'm gonna put this on over the wire, and it would have been a lot easier to do this before I made all my connections, but I can still do it. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll get the first look at the truck. Look at that, guys. All right, it is done. All installed. So this is the screw that they gave me that attaches the front of the grill to the brackets. And essentially they're too short and they're too thin, and they fell out. So this is what I got. It's a little bit thicker. It's almost twice as long. And the standoffs under the grill, they're plenty long enough for this screw to go in all the way. So I've already put one in, and I just happen to have these. I didn't have to buy them, luckily. And this also came with washers, but the head on this one's so big I don't even need a washer. So I'm gonna install these on the front of the grill out on the back side to attach to that bracket. Alright guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You want to see more videos like this? Please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be putting in some headlights and a bug deflector and a number of other things going to be coming up. Also going to be doing a video about a stereo unit, amplifier, and everything that I installed on this truck. So please subscribe if you want to see that content. Thank you.